Hey y'all, how are you doing today? I am so thankful for everybody who's here today or watching this on the replay or listening to it over on Spotify. I am Jodee Jean Daniels, and this is another episode of my podcast, Just Jodee Plus One. Today, we are going to be getting to know the wonderful Lily Luchesi that I met at what I refer to as Hardy's Con, but it was the Writers Conference in New Orleans this year. She's become a dear friend and even helped me with some logo work through one of her services that we'll be talking about today. So stay tuned, and everybody, let's give a big whiskey welcome to Lily.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you
me.
for coming on today.
I'm excited.
Good, good. Well, we are going to jump straight in and we are going to do a getting to know you. So, my first question is, you had a lifelong love of the paranormal. What was the moment you knew that you were going to start writing it?
I knew I was going to start writing it. I never made a conscious decision. I just loved it so much and read so many paranormal and urban fantasy books that it just came very naturally. It wasn't a decision, it was a compulsion.
I love that. So, your series, the Paranormal Detective Series, was it influenced by you growing up around Chicago? Did that influence you at all?
It did once I started writing it. The initial influence for it, I was watching a crime show actually set in Canada, but the streets and the alleyways they were going down did actually look very similar to Chicago, where I grew up. And it gave me the idea of what if the perp was not a human? What if a cop stumbled upon a vampire by accident? And then because I loved Chicago, that even though I wasn't living there at the time, I was living in Los Angeles, I knew I had to set it there. That's my home. That's my love.
I love that. Your fascination with vampires began at 2, from what I have read in your bio. So, what's your earliest memory related to that?
So I always used to tell my mom, I blame you, it's your fault. She had me watching Scooby-Doo as a child, the old original, like from the 1960s. And it was the first time I ever saw a vampire. It was their version of Dracula. And I was just like, that is the coolest thing ever. Like, he just appeared out of the bats, out of the swarm of bats. I'm like, so cool. And that was the moment. And just ever since then, obsession.
Obsession. I love it. You're a paranormal writer under Lily Luchesi and also a contemporary writer under Samantha Calcott.
Yes.
How do you shift between those two voices?
I usually plan Samantha's releases a bit differently, so I know what I'm going to shift into her now. Initially, the only reason I started writing her was I had a random idea, which I actually have those books taken down and republished under a different name that I'm not going to bring up here. I don't think your readers would go for some of the other stuff published under that name. Okay. But initially when I started Samantha, it was because I had writer's block on book 3 of the Coven series. Okay. And I had this random romance idea. I'm like, I'm just going to try and write it and see if I can at least break this block.
Okay.
And I wrote 86,000 words in 16 days.
Oh, wow.
But now I know I need to shift my voices. So she usually releases only a couple times a year, and I have those planned. Like, I have a short story coming out in August and a charity anthology, and then I have my Christmas story coming out in November.
Okay. I can't wait to read those. That'll be fun. So, getting to know you, this is still in the getting to know you category. As someone in the LGBTQ community, how has your identity shaped your characters or the stories that you tell?
Growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, you have very limited LGBT characters and representation. Even when they were there, it was a caricature, it was a minor character, it was a character who was going to die. And it was a very specific stereotype of a character. So, I mean, the first time I saw a bisexual person, especially a woman, wasn't until I was like 20 on TV. And that was, so I wanted to make sure that so many different types of people got represented to make up for not having any. I mean, some of my characters actually, quote unquote, came out to me during the process of writing. Angelica revealed she was pan by book 2. And Danny revealed that he's demisexual in book 4. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that about you. I've been writing you for 3.5 books already.
Mm-hmm.
So some of it's natural, and some of it was me, like Brighton and Mark in the Paranormal Detective series. I knew I wanted to have the non-stereotypical gay couple. I wanted to show what real life and real love looked like, not, something that's manufactured by people who don't understand.
So cool. My oldest son is part of the community, Josh, and I have had so much fun giving him different books to read and showing him, that, and he's an adult, he's grown, but he had the same experience that you had. He's 34 now, so
He's almost my age.
yeah, he's almost your age. So now this portion is going to be on writing career and process. So, first question, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad I can say this. You have hit the USA Today bestseller list. What did that milestone mean to you, and how did you celebrate? And I think we talked
Um,
about this a little bit in New
but
Orleans, but go
Yes, we
ahead.
did a little bit. It was
Yeah.
during the time when the box sets and authors were coming together in a small group to hit that list, to prove that indie authors can do this. At the time, myself and my co-writer, Faith Marlowe, she is amazing, by the way. She also writes horror and vampires. Our publisher was initially going to be in it herself.
Mm-hmm.
And she wound up not being able to. And she messaged both of us. She emailed us and she said, I want you guys to get on this list. You deserve this. You've been working so hard. And she gave us her spot in the box set.
Mm-hmm.
And we co-wrote for the very first time based off of something that I had seen in a dream. I wrote down this plot from a nightmare I had. And we wound up writing it, and we were like, it was hard. It wasn't going well. And we figured maybe we won't make the list, and we kind of understood that. And I had actually been sick that day, the day the list came out, and I woke up almost exactly when I was out to all of these messages. I'm like, why is my inbox blowing up? And it was congratulations about hitting the list. And I just remember sitting there bawling my eyes out. I think my mom took me out to dinner after that. I don't really remember. Like I said, I wasn't feeling well. And it was just like,
Sure.
it was insane. It's still insane to be able to say that, because
Mm-hmm.
there were some people who disparaged the box sets. Oh, if you didn't do it totally on your own. I'm like, no, this was a community. This was writers coming together to succeed. And it was one
Yeah.
of the most fun things I participated in.
I had that reaction from some people too when I hit number one with my Beltane anthology because I didn't do it alone. Then it wasn't a real success. And I was like, yes, it was. We worked our butts off and we
Yes.
interwove all these stories and made sure the book flowed and it had the same theme. And you don't know how hard it was to do it, not do it on your own. So I get that. I get
Yeah, my
that.
first number one was also an anthology. I was the acquisitions editor and full-on editor as well as contributor, and that was also my first number one. Yeah, you hear that too. Well, it's not number one if it's not. No, it's number one. We
Yeah.
need to celebrate every single win, and that
Yes.
orange banner is a very big win.
It's huge. It is a huge thing. Um, what is your and I know we talked about this, but I want you to tell my listeners, what's your writing process like? Are you a plotter, a pantser, or a mix of both?
You can kind of call me a mix. I get my stories that come from everywhere. Like I said, one came from a nightmare. Some come from, watching a TV show. And I'll usually get like large chunks of plots that come to me.
Yeah.
Then I sit down and write, and it will go completely off the rails. The Paranormal Detectives series was supposed to be one book. It was supposed to be a 60,000 word horror novel with a very
Mhm.
unhappy ending. And I wound up cutting the last 20,000 words because my characters kept talking to me. And I'm like, this is not part of the plan. So it went from one book to 3 books, from 3 books to 5 books. And it finally
Mhm.
ended with 8 books and 3 spinoffs.
I love it so much, and I know you'll remember this. When I got my little idea when we were in New Orleans
Yes.
about and has turned into Whispers in the Quarter. And it's went from, like you said, a standalone to where I'm now. I'm old school. I'm plotting and planning my Bible in this monster. So I was thinking about you the other night when I was sitting at my table and I was writing, and I was like, oh my gosh, this was just back in March, me and Lucy were just talking about that. Lily and I were just talking about it. That was our other friend's name that was with us. And I was like, we were talking about this that night, and now, it's become something. So when you are writing and that happens, is it just, how does it affect you? I know me emotionally, I just go into this euphoric state. How does it affect you when you hit that moment where this is going to be a good book?
I think euphoric state is a good way to talk about it. I'm working on some stuff right now that I'm not really talking about. That's with the Samantha Calcott pen name. Some
Okay.
not historical romances.
Okay.
And so I'm working on those right now. And I remember the moment during the sorting everything out in my head that this is going to be, how many books, and it's like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, not, and people say, you shouldn't toot your own horn. Yes, toot if you have a great story. Toot it all the time. Toot it to yourself, to other people. I don't care. When you get that feeling, it's like, I can't even describe it. I think the closest thing that I could describe it to if I were writing a book would be the feeling when you're in love, when you've fallen in love. It's that, but with a book.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're falling in love with your characters and the idea.
Yes.
I like that. I like that. That's a good one. So, like I had mentioned before, a lot of my viewers, listeners might not know, you also run a very successful business. You run Partners in Crime Book Service. Yes. And Lily is the one who created my logo and helped me with a lot of my rebranding that I'm getting ready to push out with my new relaunches. So how do you balance this incredible writing career with that business and helping people like me who are, who need your help? How do you do that?
Caffeine, ADHD, and spite. That is the short answer. The long answer is I did have to recalibrate a little bit when I started the business with my mother in 2019. Mm-hmm. Doing editing, that takes up the bulk of my time. It's also the bulk of my income. Mm-hmm. So being the bulk of my income, that's right. What I need to focus on. That's why I was at Writer MBA, was not only just as an author, but as an editor as well, networking that way. That was the main reason that I was invited there. Mm-hmm. And I love editing. I used to quote unquote edit my friends' essays in school before they would turn them into the teacher. And I enjoy doing it. It does sometimes hurt when I can't write, all day long, but I have a very good balance. Okay. And I don't sleep and consume a lot of caffeine.
You don't sleep. You're going to have to come up with another plan when you get my age. When you hit 55.
My body's already telling me at 31, like, please, I'm going to kill you.
This is so much fun. You've published under several genres and age categories. What drives you to experiment with different styles? Because it terrifies the crap out of me. I'm doing it now with a YA that I'm writing that's a sci-fi that I've never touched before. So what drives you? What gives you that confidence?
I don't know if I would say it's confidence. It's my characters, when they come to talk to me and their plots come to me initially, they get so incessant, with giving me all of these ideas. And, I'll sit there sometimes, I'll be watching TV and my characters will be like, no, hello, hi, me. You need to pay attention to me. And I feel compelled to write them. I did also read growing up, and even now, a very broad spectrum of genres. So I love so many different things. Okay. So I have experience editing and reading and so much that I know the beats, I know the things that a story needs to hit. So I think that gives me a little bit of confidence, but it's more, I just like to explore creatively. When a character comes to me and a story comes to me, I'm not going to look at them and be like, nah, I just can't write you. You're not, because it feels like doing the characters and the book world itself a disservice to deny an idea.
You and I have something in common. We love K-pop.
Oh, you love K-pop too?
Yeah, I'm a BTS ARMY mom. Nice. I consider them my children. I'm very protective of them. I will speak of them like they are mine. And most of it is because they are the ages of their age group hits my kids' ages. They're the same. Right. Except for my youngest, who's 20. And he is the manky of the group.
Your youngest is 5th gen age. Your youngest is
Yes,
like One Harmony age.
yes, yes. But so I know you're stay. So what role does music, especially when you go to the concerts, does that play any part in your writing or your process?
Well, I want to say I'm a stay. I am also an ATeenie. I have ATEEZ' song "Enough" tattooed right here because I love it. And I also, you can actually, Jungkook is behind me on my wall, by the way.
Oh,
Here's fan
okay.
art from a friend of mine on Twitter. That's
Hey,
Jungkook back
Cookie.
there.
Hey,
That is
Cookie.
my
Mommy loves you.
Jungkook is my like everything. I mean, like tattoo and all.
Aw, love that.
So music in general inspired me. Before I got into K-pop, I wrote a book called Never Again, which is based on my love of metal and new metal music.
Hmm.
And afterwards, as Samantha Calcott, I wrote the book Yijun, which is partially dedicated to my mom, partially dedicated to Jungkook, and how K-pop actually helped me deal with the grief of losing her and dealing with all of that. And K-pop also gave her a lot of happiness before she
Yeah.
passed. She found them not long before, and she just enjoyed it. And it was the first time while she was sick that I saw her smiling. So K-pop is just like, it's very special. You know, there have been some people and some like disparaging comments. Number one being you're too old. I'm like,
Oh,
members of BTS and EXO and Monsta X, like they're my age. They're still going strong. Like, what are you talking about? Like, there's
mhm.
no, but people kind of don't understand because they think of it as something so contrived. And they don't realize how amazing and fun and uplifting the music is. Like when I just went to see Stray Kids last month with my friend, I'm going to AT's next week.
Mhm, yeah.
Not this coming Friday, but next Friday. But when I went to see them, Stray Kids has this song called Social Path about giving up so many things and getting rejection in a creative industry until you make it. And sitting there with like 40,000 people screaming these lyrics about how my passion caused me to create my career, like that was a moment. That was like this. I want to describe, I want to write this moment, but I don't have words for it. It was just beautiful. It was magical.
Yeah. They, n- not to get off subject, but when I had cancer, I did not know who BTS was. Back in 2021, I had never heard of them. And I was in a really dark place one day. I was getting ready to go in and have my surgery, but the last scans showed more masses, or it showed a mass in my lung. And I basically shut down. I thought, up until that point, I had been very, I'm going to beat this. But that day, I was just, it was bad. And I remember my son said, Mom, why don't you just watch some funny videos on YouTube? And he goes, I'll go get your laptop. So he went and got my laptop and I typed in funny videos. And a video of these 7 boys playing what I knew to be red light, green light was there. And their joy and their happiness was palpable. And I didn't know who they were, but I just kept clicking on videos and watching. And that was how I found BTS. And that's why I hold them so dear to my heart, because they reminded me that I had, I was the ruler of my joy, and I think that's what all of us need to remember, guys. Happiness is happenstance, but you have to remember that joy, nobody can take that from you. And Mama will get down off her soapbox now. I'm sorry.
No, I love that. The way that my mother had found BTS, we had heard of them, we had seen them on some music shows.
Mm-hmm.
Neither of us were super, super into pop music, so we weren't paying attention. And that's why they say it for all K-pop groups. Whoever your first K-pop group is, they come to you at the right time. Even if they're not
Right.
your old forever, the first K-pop group hits you at the right time.
Yeah.
So my mom had heard it was a Samsung commercial and it was Butter by BTS in 2021. And she was like, "Oh, this is really good." And every time the commercial would come on, she would like dance a little bit and smile. And this is in the middle of her being so sick. At the time, we didn't know what was wrong with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she was hospitalized the first time for about a week, I didn't know what to look for. And I remember her smiling at this boy band. I'm like, this song made my mom smile, so maybe it'll make me smile. And it did.
Mm-hmm.
It did. Like I said, it doesn't matter when your old groups change, whatever. That first one always hits you when they need to.
Yes.
Always. And
Yes.
yet to anyone who, like you said, feeling that joy, I don't care what you get that joy from. If it's K-pop, if it's video
Yeah.
games, if it's K-drama, if it's anime, anime is another
Yeah.
one of my big loves.
Mm.
Just hold on to that joy. That's why I write, because it's joy.
I love books and characters. Let's jump in. Let's talk about Paranormal Detective Series. What inspired Angelica Cross and what makes her story stand out?
Well, here's the thing about her story is I didn't know her full story when I was first writing. Again, it just kept coming to me as I was writing the books. And then by the time you read book 1 and then you read book 8 and you realize, oh my God, even her name there's a reason even for her name. When there was not when I made her. There was not. It's just these things kept coming to me.
Uh-huh.
But initially I wanted a main character like Angelica because plus size goth women was not a type of, and women who own their sexuality and own their how gorgeous they are and wore like, I don't want to say revealing clothes, but like just comfortable in their bodies. You didn't
Yeah.
see that. To this day, I get books from clients where it's like, and this character had a short skirt and this character had too much makeup and you're always being disparaging. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I want a character who looks like me, who
Mm-hmm.
dresses like me. And there are
Mm-hmm.
other people who want these characters too. Like I had met people in real life who discussed these things with me. So I always knew when I were ever to write and publish, I wanted my characters to be relatable. I wanted to see, again, the type of thing that I would never see otherwise.
Got it. How would you describe, and I think you kind of touched on this, but you were talking about how it comes to you. How does that evolution happen when you're writing a series?
Very, very naturally, like the ideas will just keep flowing a little bit. Sometimes it helps if I'm talking to someone, like Maggie Alabaster is one of my clients, and she is lovely, and she will sometimes bounce ideas off of. Rain Matthews, another one of my clients, I will bounce ideas with her sometimes, and sometimes that helps. I used to
Mm-hmm.
bounce the ideas with my mom, but usually it's just it flies out of my brain so fast, I don't know where they come from sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
or sometimes I know exactly where they come from. In the Coven series, book three's plot was written in 2016. And there were a lot of things that were going on 2016, 2017 that I did not like and that I thought were horrible. So I used fantasy and fiction to give a voice to the voiceless at that time, to show these wrong things that were going on and to kind of give people hope like there's going to be a hero who comes to fix things. So sometimes there are things like that that go into the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it could be a song or a music video. I have another fantasy book. It's on hold right now, but it's based on a group of songs and I just like I want to write it so bad, but it's a standalone and I have series that need to be completed so I can't do it right now. But like just it all depends. Anything I think if you're a creative person, you don't know where that inspiration is going to come from as you're writing a series, as you're going along with it. It's going to hit.
I found a lot of times it hits if I'm burnt out, nothing is happening. If I walk away and go do something that I enjoy, or I read something or spend some time talking to a friend, that's what does it for me. That's what brings everything back into focus. So I like that. Let's talk about the Coven series that you just mentioned. So it has resonated with a lot of YA readers. So, what themes or messages that you explored, what do you think? Why is it resonating so much with them?
Well, the first thing is, and like I won't name any names. There'd be some people who agree with me, and there's gonna be some people who don't. When I was reading a particular YA fantasy series that I did enjoy, but there were certain things that bothered me about like how quote unquote outcasts were treated
Mm-hmm.
and how people who have a certain disposition or certain likes were treated. And that was another thing I wanted to kind of subvert that. I wanted to show, us creepy people aren't bad. You might not like us. We might not have the best disposition. Is it okay if I curse?
Oh yeah,
Okay. I have a severe resting bitch face typically if I'm
yeah.
not like on camera. So, people walk around and they see that and they judge. And I wanted to show teenagers, especially, like, you don't have to judge these people. So initially going through it, I just wanted Harley's story to be, yeah, you're an outcast. Yeah, you're creepy. Yeah, you're weird. Yeah, you're super intelligent. People don't like that, especially people in authority.
Mm-hmm.
but you can still make a difference and you can still be good. Like the series has this dark and light magic thing that
Yeah.
mixes. And historically in that world, if you were dark magic, you were just dark. You were part of the one clan.
Mm.
You could integrate into where light magic was, but you're always going to be treated as other. And she is the type of character, because of where her lineage comes from, as you discover through the series, she is the one who shows you, no, you have everything wrong. You have gotten
Mm.
all of this wrong about all of us, and I am going to prove it to you. Even if sometimes she doesn't want to. Like, she gets thrown into some adventures she isn't happy about. But it really is all just about being an outcast and still being able to be who you are and still do amazing things, even if people are judging you.
Good. How do you approach building supernatural systems or lore, especially when you're combining witches, vampires, and other entities?
Well, with the Coven series was actually the easiest. Some of the lore I took from actual history with Mary, Queen of Scots, and it's in an actual castle. So I took the two clans who were her advisors and I made them magical. So I
Ah.
was able to do it that way, and that was kind of fun. The only reason I did is I was just researching castles, and I found all this history. I'm like, oh my god, this would fit so well. So that was a serendipitous moment. But with the Paranormal Detective series, like with their whole government and everything, initially I was just basing it off of a paranormal FBI sort of thing, which it is. But then I realized as I'm writing further, oh, there's so much hierarchy here. In book 5, Angelica realizes there's even more hierarchy to being a vampire than she already knew. And she's been a vampire for 200 years. So as I'm getting surprised by things that I'm learning, I'm putting that surprise onto my characters as well, because they're learning along with me and along with the reader.
Fun. So now we're going to move on to fan favorites and deep cuts. Which book of yours would you recommend to a new reader to start with, and why?
Oh, to a new reader. That's a good question for a new reader. I was actually trying to think about this earlier. If they can handle some of the darker elements, my favorite book that I've ever written is probably Never Again, which is a Paranormal Detective Series standalone.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to read the main series to read that one. It goes more into urban fantasy horror,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about a male siren who was born in Israel 500 years ago. He discovers he's a siren by accident, accidentally kills someone, and they stone him to death and snap his neck. And he wakes up, of course, because that's not how you kill a siren. And so he's been on the run his whole life, and you watch him grow up and become an adult. He becomes a rock star. He becomes a war hero. And there's a lot of real life stuff. It's based around the Hauska Castle legend during the Nazis, when they
Mm-hmm.
claimed that they would be raising demons out of there. So I took that and used that
Yeah.
as the plot.
I have
Um,
studied that. That is a
it's
creepy place.
It's so fascinating and it's
So
terrifying. Like, doing
fascinating.
that research was like, it was so much fun. Because also I'm sitting there
Mm-hmm.
like, this might actually give me nightmares. It didn't, but I thought it might. So I would recommend that. And the other thing that I would recommend, if you don't like the darker stuff, I have right now there's only 3 out of 5 books published. The Paige Papillon Paranormal Mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
And those are fan favorites. They don't sell the best, which is why I haven't taken the time to publish the last 2 yet.
Mm-hmm.
But the Paige Papillon series is cute, it's quirky, it's fun. It gives voice to an autistic main character as well, an asexual main character. There's so much representation differently from different races, different species. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's everything coalescing together, and they're just really fun, cute adventures. Hopefully, they'll make you like, oh my god, what's going to happen to her? Even though you know it's going to be a happy ending, because they're cozy mysteries. You know how those
Okay.
end. But
Yes.
it's one of those. They're short, feel good books for those who like the paranormal, but not the scary stuff.
How do your fans usually react to your villains, and do you have a favorite antagonist that you've created?
So my least favorite antagonist, you asked about the fans. Her name is Fiona, and she's in the Paranormal Detective series. And obviously, the series is going 8 books, and you can read in the blurbs that she's not in all of them. So it's not a spoiler to say she does wind up getting defeated at one point. And I'll never forget when I sent out ARC readers. When I sent out the ARC copies for the book where she's finally gone, I had messages saying "Ding dong, the witch is dead." Like, they were celebrating that this woman. They were celebrating. It was fantastic. But my favorite antagonist is also in the Paranormal Detective series, and that's Vincent. He's in book 1. He makes cameo appearances in later books as well.
Okay.
I absolutely love him because he is a villain who can't help being a villain. He's mad. He bloodlust after he got turned made him insane.
Okay.
And he just has this attitude and this suave, like he's like a suave British gentleman from the Victorian
Mhm.
era, but he's molded himself to be able to fit modern as well. And he's very cool. I almost could make him a main character if I tried.
I like doing that with a character, and the only way I've been able to do it when I'm writing a bad guy, no matter how bad they are, I have to be able to feel some sort of compassion for them, um, or I'm not able to really convey who they are. So I do that too. Like I make sure that in my head I know the backstory.
I think
And
that everyone hated Fiona for that reason is because she was always just rotten and
mhm,
selfish to the core. And I needed a villain like that to kind of foil Angelica, who's very altruistic and like, she's doing everything that she does is because she wants to avenge her mother's death.
okay.
And she saved thousands and thousands of people in between in, 180 years. So I wanted a villain who was very, very awful, and I think that's why everyone hated her. But yeah, I absolutely loved Vincent. I was just watching. I've started a new anime called Solo Leveling, and there's a
Mhm.
character. He's only in 2 episodes, but he does wind up being a villain. And during his whole arc, like, but I like him. This 2 episode arc, but I like him. I'm the type
Mhm.
of person I find things to like about the bad guys all the time.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I had an antagonist in one of my books that ended up becoming one of the main characters and not an antagonist, because of the same thing. And he was that my editor said that he could always tell. He goes, when you were writing that character, I knew you loved him more than any of the other characters. He goes, because it was the best and funniest scenes. So I'm the same way. I totally get that. So as far as the industry and advice, we have talked about partner in crime book services and you starting that up. But what really inspired that? And what's the common mistake that you see as running that business that you see from creators like myself? What's that common mistake you see indie people making that could be easily fixed?
Well, starting it, I had gotten some proofreading jobs since 2011. I was doing proofreading, behind the scenes, some paid beta reading at my publisher at the time. And then my mother and I had decided through some discussion because my mother did advertising professionally. She did it for different brands and also musicians. So she was
Mhm.
able to handle promotion for authors while I handled the editing because that was what I was experienced in. So it was just starting that, ensuring my mother had made me a deal initially. It didn't matter how, but I had to succeed in publishing by the time I was 25,
Mhm.
or I was going to have to go back and do a backup. It was not going to be feasible. I needed to succeed and earn above a certain amount to keep me afloat as a grown adult.
Mhm.
And so that was one of the reasons I decided, and I was 25 and I started making it. I got clients almost, thank God, knock on wood, immediately. And some of those clients are still with me today. But that was us starting the business together. And then still running it now, even after she's passed. But one of the things that I've noticed with a new indie author in particular, they come around thinking that it's easy. And I think that's the worst part of it, especially if you're writing romance. They think it's very easy. Oh, I'm just going to slap Omegaverse on this cover, and everyone's, no, it's not easy. And I think that's, the people coming through, like, I just want to write my own book and I see the success. You don't see what's behind the success. And that's what I try and help people with. You
Mhm.
need to ensure your book is ready to publish. Does this need a full-on rewrite? Does it need structural editing, developmental editing? Every single book needs a line copy edit and proofread. Like that's
Oh,
beside every
yes.
level of the point. You need to pick an on-brand cover. You need to decide your advertising strategy. There's a lot of steps to publishing, and so many people think it's I'm going to buy a pre-made cover and I'm going to put a book out and I'm going to make money. And that's been the common mistake. And a lot of people get upset with it. And it's like, no, you need to learn. You need to go step by step because you
Mhm.
can succeed.
Mhm.
It's just not easy, but you can do it.
Mhm. And I remember when we were talking in New Orleans when we were sitting there together and I showed you my cover, and you were so sweet. You were so sweet. You were like, so this is an urban fantasy book then, and I was like, no, it's a science fiction techno thriller, and you went, oh.
Because it was a great cover, it just did not convey your genre at all. And I remember you mentioning sci-fi, and then you showed me something for urban fantasy, and I'm like, I'm confused, and I don't want, in my mind also, because I was not used to being awake and socializing by 8 a.m. every day. So I'm like, okay, did my brain not hear what she said to me earlier? I was so worried. I was so worried that I misheard you.
Well, and I had a meeting later. That was when the whole rebrand thing happened, and I told you the next day. I was like, "Hey, I got to rebrand," and that was how we started talking about your business. But I remember Sarah Cannon. She was looking, and she was like, "Yeah." She goes, "What genre do you think your books are?" And I was like, "What? I think maybe they're urban fantasy." And she went, "No, they're sci-fi techno thrillers, but you have an urban fantasy cover." So that's when you started helping me, and that was awesome, and it made me, I was so grateful for all the advice that you gave me before I was even a client. So my next question would really be, what advice would you give to new writers, like, I was trying to break into sci-fi or paranormal fantasy or urban fantasy? What is your biggest piece of advice that you can give them from the business side of it?
When you're trying to break into a genre, whether you're brand new or you're just moving into it, the first thing would be is to get something up, and this is the closest thing to the free things that you can do for anyone on any budget.
Mhm.
Set up your book funnel, get a reader magnet, do swaps, get people who are into your genre into your newsletter, because that's the number one way they're going to get everything from you and know what social media can limit your reach, especially if it's a new account. So a newsletter is the best way to get the word out to readers who like your genre. So start off with a short story or novella, reader magnet, book funnel, whatever preferred method that you like, and build up that newsletter and
Mhm.
talk to people through it. Don't just throw advertising at them. Be personable.
Right.
Talk to them in your newsletter, tell them things about you that may sort of pertain to your books. Like when I was just starting, I would talk about how I got into vampires and all of that stuff. I would make things very anecdotal, weaving my books through that. And that is how some people got interested. And that's also how you should be posting on social media. The more you post, the more you interact with other people in your genre, other books in your genre, author pages, you will slowly build up an algorithm where people who also interact with them are going to find you.
Mhm.
So building up an organic algorithm like that before you even publish, if possible, is a fantastic way to get started and ensure you have an audience when you
Mhm.
publish.
What are your thoughts on live events, like going to the Comic Cons, the sci-fi conventions? What would be a good piece of advice you could tell, like a new author who, maybe only has 1 to 3 books? What would be the best way that they could go about setting themselves up for success?
Well, signings are and events like that really do differ. It is harder to sell novels at sci-fi cons compared to book cons, but there are sci-fi book cons. So,
Yeah.
just research them. There are groups, especially on Facebook. I believe they're on Discord as well. I'm in a
Mhm.
few paranormal and romance ones. And I've done a couple of book signings now. One of them I broke even. One of them I actually earned a profit, which was shocking. But a great way to do it if you're new and only have a few books and don't want to invest in a signing, go to your local craft fair, go to your local bookstore, go to your local Barnes and Noble. Barnes and Nobles are now doing local authors.
Mhm.
So start small and then work your way up to the bigger signings, because another good thing about signings, not only are you meeting new readers, you're meeting new authors and you're networking and you're finding people who you can then do book swaps, newsletter swaps, appear on each other's websites, podcasts, something like this.
Yeah.
um, any sort of networking that you can do, but look into them, look into their history, look into other authors who have been there, what authors go year after year. Because you don't want to always get a signing that has like one big ticket author. Like if you're
Mhm.
doing romance, you don't want a signing where, Rebecca Yaros is the main draw, because less chance that people are going to go into your area because they're going to be queuing for her. So you
Right.
want a good size signing with good sized people and people again in your genre.
In your genre.
One of the ones that has been going on for years and years and years. I haven't attended it. I wanted to next year. It probably won't be till 2027. Is Getting Witchy with It in Salem.
Okay.
That's one of the ones that's been around forever. And fantasy, paranormal, and romance authors all go there, and they all have a wonderful time. So you have to look for ones that have a good reputation. And
Yeah.
it takes research. It takes research, advice from other authors. And that's another thing. Don't be afraid to ask for advice. Don't be afraid to ask for recommendations. Other
Right.
authors are there to help. We want to help you.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to get into doing signings, just a lot of research. Make sure that you have a little bit of swag at your table. Like I did free buttons and stickers and bookmarks. Most other people do like bookmarks. Sometimes they'll do little swag packs and those tiny organza bags, and they're real cute. Just
Mm-hmm.
something that make people want to stop. Same
Yeah.
with your author banner. Make sure that it's bright and someone's going to want to stop and be like, "Ooh, who is this?"
Yeah.
Being visible is very, very important. So it's a lot of tiny little steps, but it's not difficult. It seems daunting if you're new, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Last but not least, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. So, can you share anything about what's coming up next for you and what is going on in your paranormal world or contemporary fiction? I'm just going to turn it over.
Okay, so I have a couple different things going on. August 21st, I am releasing, it's called A Little Prick, and you'll see the little cactus on the cover, anthology with 5 other authors, and it's a rom-com anthology, and all of the proceeds go to Planned Parenthood. Due to some of the things that have been going on in government here in America, we want to be sure that there is at least some funding for women and people with uteruses to get the health care that they need and to not have anything like that stopping them. So it's up for pre-order right now. It releases August 21st. You can find it. It's going to be in Kindle Unlimited. It's on Amazon for pre-order. So if you all want to check that out, if you love feel-good rom-coms with strong female characters. And I will also be, every year I do, as Samantha Calcott, another anthology, some sort of Christmas Kisses. We're planning that right now, so that should be out in November. It comes out usually before Black Friday, so you can be on the lookout for that. Again, very feel-good, Hallmarky stuff. Just stuff to make you happy. And for the Lily Luchesi pen, I am getting the Paige Papillon Paranormal Mysteries finished. Book 4 is almost complete, and I would like to release it. So if you are new to me, if you like things that are very cute and very paranormal and very quirky, go check out Daunting Darkness. That's book 1. And if you like things and have liked hearing about the Paranormal Detectives series, I currently have them out as a 3-book omnibus set on Amazon as well. And I believe those are also on paperback. I don't know. I have to wait for Ingham Spark to approve them. Unfortunately, I don't know. I have to go check things. But excuse me, those are available if you want to read them faster. And they're also available as single book sets. I just did a limited edition run on Kickstarter for Stakeout because it was my 10th anniversary. And there may be new versions of that book up for sale soon. So keep your eye out on my social media. You can find me as Lily Luchesi basically anywhere, Instagram, Facebook. But just warning, if you follow my Instagram, you also get some of the very, very random K-pop and poetry things that I am interested in.
I love that. And I didn't realize it, but Mama Maggie's here and she has been leaving comments for us as we've been talking. I'm sorry I didn't see them as I was going on. Thank goodness. None of them are questions for us. I was having so much fun. I forgot we were live.
Genre sluts. I'm so going to use that.
Yes. Let's do it. But I am just so thankful that you did this for me today. I appreciate you so much. And this was just so much fun.
Thank you. I enjoyed speaking with you, and I'm so glad that we got to connect at Writer MBA. You're a
Me
sweetheart.
Oh, thank you. All right. And I think my whiskeys know what I'm going to say before I say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. I might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'm a particular group of people's double shot of whiskey. And I'm so happy and I'm so proud that you came and hung out with us today and that you find us just right. We love you and thank you for being here. Bye. See you guys later.